Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to today's lesson. Awesome, we're here live in the van, back in a new location, and ready to give you a brand new lesson today. Somewhat controversial as the YouTube algorithm goes, because we're going to be discussing Hotel California, Motel Caledonia, and sorry, Don Henley, but not to piss you off. I mean, I hope we don't get a copyright strike here, but anything's possible when you do the try to teach the Eagles, as far as I can tell from what's gone on other channels. So here we're going to give an attempt at it because it's such an amazing learning experience out of this chord progression. Of course, I mean, why was it a big hit? Because it involves things that are just deeper and than standard entry level music theory, and you can just learn a whole lot from it. You can, to try to understand it, you can get some insight into your own playing. So there's a lot to talk about, like right there with that statement. You know, we're going to study it using music theory because we want to conceptualize it. We want to analyze and conceptualize. Am I saying that they knew? You know, there's the whole argument. Oh, they didn't know this. They just made up a cool chord progression. Now look, as quick as I can, there's some truth to that, and I think I'm going to make a whole video about music theory versus the people who say no music theory. And the quick synopsis is that um, people, certain people have right from the get-go even have a strong ear, meaning when they hear tunes, they can hear things going on in music. They can pick up on similar things that are happening, even though the song is different. They can go, oh, that's a this to this chord progression. I recognize that chord. I know that chord. And they may even eventually go, oh, okay, I know that chord now. That's a C, and now they're going to G. And they can just hear that stuff. um, some people have a very strong ability with that, others don't. And I think that creates the people that go back and forth between music theory or not music theory, because the old adage is, well, you could just play whatever. You don't need a theory to play, and they're not rules anyways, and rules are made to be broken. So what's the deal with music theory? So there's a whole gray area, and a lot of people have a hard time explaining, well, why you would actually want music theory. It's just simply the difference in people. If you have a strong ear, you may be able to put things together without having to know what the deal is behind it. And because you're so able to just say, hey, it works, it's cool, let's run with it, this is what we'll do, we can make this melody over it, then you don't need to know. Maybe you don't care about the mechanics. For example, if you're really good at driving a car, you might not care about how a car works, but it could leave you stranded at the side of the road if you don't pay attention to a certain odor or a certain noise it starts making, where other people are going to know all the mechanics about the car so that they can know they could rebuild a car, they can take it apart, put it back together, they can know when a certain sound is happening, if they need to, if it's just nothing really, or something that you need to pull over for and to avoid catastrophe, and on and on. So there's, like, you know, reasons to know things and reasons you don't need to know things, depending on how your mind works. So now there were three guitarists in that band, or I'm not that familiar 100%. You know, Eagles has always been a great favorite of mine, and great band, and I know there was, let's say, multiple guitarists in that band. So when you have that conglomerate of minds, certainly people knew something. And the last thing I'm going to say is that people from that era, this is the 70s, right? And this was a very burgeoning, exploding time for music suddenly. And why I think that was happening is because, the market was fresh, for one thing, and everyone was growing out of, I think, three strong foundations. You basically, it's even questionable. I mean, there's, you know, we don't need a music history lesson here now, but going back, I mean, you could say classical music that turned into bebop, that turned into jazz, and all that wave of stuff of information. But very simply, the 50s and 60s music scene was learning experience for these guys, It taught a lot of things, which had grown out of other schools of thought about music, knowledge about music, and then the Motown scene and things that you learned in Nashville. So those things being said, you could come up with these cool chord progressions. Now, what we're going to do, so whether they did or not with music theory, irrelevant, I guess, to this. So sorry for wasting that 5 minutes, but it wasn't a waste, I think. But what we're going to do, though, is analyze it, because I think that you can grab this, and if you learn how they did something, you can see why maybe you feel a certain way in your music theory learning stage, and grab new tools you can use for your own songwriting, because it's all about making things interesting for the listener. We know that Hotel California was a massive hit, and there's a reason for that. And I think it's also kind of simple. There was not, there was just a little envelope beyond standard music theory, diatonic theory. Let's call it that. I'm going to adjust the color theme here very quickly. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So to kind of stop the preamble here, so some things before we get into the actual, and what we're going to discuss here today is actually there's a more preamble here. The chord progression. We're going to discuss the chord progression, and I'm going to try to go over the solo too, but I want to keep this just as short as possible. So we'll see what we can do, and I can't go over the solo too in depth and the chords too in depth, because I mean it could easily get red flagged. Now that being said, I want to start though by giving a major shout out. This is important because you're going to get a new YouTube teacher that you need to see. Okay, brand new YouTube teacher you need to see. Very important to not jump into the lesson before I tell you this, because this lesson came directly from this YouTube teacher. This YouTube teacher is excellent because his lessons are mostly, his full lessons are in 10 minutes. He does a lot of YouTube shorts that he's got this way of giving you so much information straight to the point and so quick and such great things. And this lesson was inspired by a lesson he taught that was 1-2 minutes long at the most. So you definitely can learn a whole lot. You need to see this guy. His name is Mark Zabel, or Zabel, Zabel. Mark, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your last name, but Zabel, Zabel. So look up Mark Zabel. I don't know if it's Mark Zabel Guitar, but you should be able to find it. Just search YouTube, Mark. I'll try to leave a link in the description below. Mark Zabel. Awesome YouTube teacher. Pretty much at this point right now, my favorite top guitar teacher because of his content and how succinctly he gets his information across. It's totally awesome. So that being said, he had recently posted a short that enlightened me to what was going on in this chord progression, and I was like, oh, that is totally awesome. And here it is really quick. Let's get right into this lesson before I get into the lesson. Now, I'm going to move the camera away from my face here and try to get it down on my guitar. Not that you really need to see anything in that small picture anyways, but here we go. So you got, he showed that there's some chords going down the neck, and it's these chords right here highlighted in these squares, the blue chords here. 4 chords are all we need to know to get through this progression. And he showed that there is a leading tone. If you take the chords, the chords may have been bar chords, or maybe there's other fingerings to play this in, but if you change the chords sequence in this song to triads, the 4-3-2 triads, or triads that occur on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string of the guitar, 1, 3, and 5, you get these chords in the blue boxes, and when you put them together in the way that the song goes, you get this leading tone on the bottom string. And that's a huge musical idea that goes. And I'll play them with the full chords. Got a little more distortion than I want here. I don't know why that kicked up, but we're going to try this. That's better. And we're going to give a little bit of this. And that should be good. And you can see that that leads right back into. So we want. Now, and that's what he showed, which is great. Now, what I said, wow, that's really cool, and I started tinkering around with that because I'm like, I want to know all about this. I discovered some other things that made me want to create this lesson, and those other things are that the fact that each one of those chord changes, well, everyone except at the end, but it doesn't matter, and we're going to get to that. Every one of them shares a note, so there's note sharing and a smooth movement of an upper melody line, which is good voice leading, just to be very simple about these concepts. All right, so shared note, shared note, shared note, no shared note, but still moving that melody line, or just the voice leading line. And you can hear how those chords lead right into each other. But the weird thing is that's not in the diatonic major system. There's another system that chord progression is diatonic to. And we're going to get to that, which makes this, that is almost so what right there is one of the keys that make this song and progression so memorable and cool, that give it that extra level that's beyond simple diatonic. So that being said, a whole bunch of things here. Simple diatonic. So what people end up doing when they learn music theory, and why Hotel California is going to be a great song to learn, is you get into studying music theory. And when you're brand new, it takes a lot to get over that first mountain to finally go, oh, okay, I see. There's a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is major chord, minor chord, minor chord, major chord, major chord, minor chord, some weird diminished thing, and then back to major, 1. So once you understand all that, you're like, oh, okay, I finally get this. And then you're like, okay, so I can make some songs. And you might, you make some cool songs. Like, for example, you can make them all work together. You can go, let's try, Okay, let's try this. In the key of D. Hold on. Okay. Okay, actually, I'm going to go into the key of A. So let's just play something in the key of. You learn diatonic, so you think, oh, okay, these chords go together, and then you realize why other chords that you played didn't really. You can't just put any chords together. They don't really technically go together unless you specifically have an idea. That's why you have the freedom to choose any chord, and that's why people will say you don't need music theory, because if you're really creative, you can create something. Let any chord progression inspire you to create what the meaning is behind that chord progression, but what really sounds good together and puts together hundreds and hundreds of popular radio songs are just the diatonic chords, especially in pop music. So here we are with a 1, 4, 5, and a 1. Now we'll put a 2 in there, 4, and a 2, and a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So I forgot to go from, I went from 2 to 3. That didn't sound good. As good as it could have. They still went together, but that's not a great movement in music. But a good movement is see how everything came to rest, because nothing's really sounded out of place because all those chords were from a key. So people learn that and it's great, but then they hear a song like Hotel California and they realize there's so much more. But where does it come from? How do you do that? How do you dare to step outside and not make it sound like crap? Well, you do have to maybe be aware of some cool tricks you can use. So here they are. To know this lesson, we need to know a couple of things here before we start. These chord shapes, we have, we're starting where my plus sign is in the box here. We have this minor chord. Now it's helpful to know where the root is so we can tell, like if we were playing it where I am right here, with the blue notes on the flat third starting on the 12th fret, then the blue note indicates this is a B minor chord, and the flat third indicates it's a minor, and that's a minor shape. And it's helpful to know that note is look at me go. That is the major third. So we're just gonna let's clean that right up and get that the heck out of there. Come on now, come on. Gotta go here, gotta go here, and gotta go here, and there. Okay. And okay, so the bottom note, it's over here. We'll just put a little gray note there, and note that to yourself is the flat third of this chord. I guess it wouldn't be too hard to just make it legitimate there. Okay. Outside the box there. The next chord over here is a major shape, and it's just a straight up and down. Here we're on the 11th fret with the root right there, so that would be D, E, F sharp, very important chord for this lesson. And then we're going to have this shape here, which is like this. And it's basically a C shape up the neck. You see the root is there. So where I'm playing it with the root there is on the G. And we would also have the major third where it's supposed to be on this shape. And you can see the relationship between this the third to a minor third. So making the C shape a minor C shape. It's a major C shape. And then same with this one here. We need to know this major shape, bar chord shape, is where it's from. And it's also, we're going to use the minor shape. And it's also from the bar chord. So this shape right here, I'm playing an E minor, which is with the one we're going to play. And you can see our root there on the 7th fret of the A string for E minor. Okay, let's moving on. Let's discuss really quick the chord progression in this song. So we start on B minor, so we can technically think that we're in B minor, okay? Now we have, what are the other notes in this scale? Well, to figure this out, actually, you want to turn this into a major scale. We know that the minor scale is inside of the major scale. It's just one of the modes, and you can always derive a parent key from that mode, or the key where that minor mode resides. Now, typically, there are 3 minor chords in any key. So we could have a minor key from a minor, or it would be then considered a mode from the 2, from the 3, or from the 6. Now, the 2 is Dorian, the 3 is Phrygian, and the 6 is Aeolian. Now, what we got to go with is what's generally most likely and common. Most common is 6, the natural minor. And for our major, we would go with what's most common, the natural minor, Ionian, or the do, on do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we want, we're probably going to assume that this is a 6. And here's another reason why. Dorian is like minor, but there's melancholy, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's kind of like a hope for the future. There's like a brighter minor, and I don't hear that in Hotel California. I hear a very standard sounding minor sound, if you will. Now, or minor progression, if you will. And Phrygian is a much darker, energetic, otherworldly, maybe even other cultural sound to it. So I don't hear that either. So there's just more reason that I'm just going to say, okay, that's probably the 6. And just because, generally speaking, pretty easy rock song, these guys were writing in Aeolian, natural minor, pretty easy. So let's assume that. Now, if we do, what is the parent key to B minor? That's next thing I wanted to know. And so how did I know that really quick? Well, it's very easy. Here's the B minor chord down here at the 2nd fret. There's 2 ways I could know the parent key nearly instantly. Number 1, all I got to do is count up from the root note that I'm playing, count up 1, 2, 3. That puts me on the 5th fret, a D. And that major chord, you can hear how they go together. There's your major, there's the parent key that this minor mode comes from, natural minor comes from, natural major. The other way I could know that is at the bottom of this chord. If I remove my top fingers, remove my root note here, remove these here, well, actually got to keep the bar down here, and down here, it actually contains a part of the D chord. So a little more convoluted there, but you can get the idea. So a couple of ways to easily know quickly. Okay, so let's assume this is B minor and our parent key is D major. So we're going to talk about D major a lot to make things easy. However, there is going to come to a point where we're going to want to strongly remember that we are in B minor for some other reasons coming up. Now, we'll notice right here that on this wall right here of notes, I've got some green notes and some yellow notes, because if we analyze the key of B minor, but it's easier to think about it in the key of D. Now we know all our chords. I translate it to the parent key because I know all my chords. I'm going to have a D major. Chord should have the key should have an E minor. Should have an F sharp minor. Should have a G major, A major, and then B minor, of course, this is 6. And then some diminished chord here at the just shy of D here, C sharp diminished, then back to D. Now, unless we're playing jazz for the most times, we can omit thinking about the 7th chord, make things easy. And of course, it's not in this progression, so that one's out the window. Don't worry about diminished. Now, we do have, though, D, B minor, G, A, E minor, but we got a problem here. We see that there's 2 chords in this progression that are outside the key, and one is really crazy because how the heck do you play 2 different chord qualities in the same progression? How do you get away with it? It's crazy, right? As only the Eagles did. So we've got an E major, E minor, and F sharp there. So yeah, it should be E minor, and we get an E minor in there when we need it, but there's an E major and there's an F major, and where I'm about to show you now. So how does that work in this progression? And you can see how it works by turning it into these triad shapes, as Mark was showing you. We already went over that voice leading, and because these chords share this leading tone at the top, then well, I guess some of these are inversions, but even still, because they share that leading tone and they have a shared note as well, so basically two shared notes, there's good, strong voice leading. So here we go. So our first chord here is indicated in yellow and red. And you can see we're at the 12th fret, and we're playing that shape here, this minor shape. Now the gray notes show where we're going. You want to think about when you're playing these chords, where am I going next? Because you only got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably 2 bars of each. Yeah, okay, so 2 normal bars of 4/4. I never counted the time signature of the song, and it could have been something unusual, but it wasn't. Pretty sure it is. So one thing to know here, so we're going from now, so what are these chords? We're going from B minor to F major. This F major here is this, we're thinking about these gray notes. Now notice that this note is not changing. So when we go from B minor to F major, there's this good stuff happening. The top note here is just falling by 1. This note here, the middle note, is not changing at all. And the top note is falling by 1. Strong voice leading, because B minor is in the key, but we are going to a chord that is not in the key. So why does that chord that's not in the key sound good? To jump ahead of ourselves, that is, well, not too far ahead, but I'll clue you in that this comes from another scale structure that's not part of the diatonic major and minor system. So there is a reason that it does work together with this chord. However, it's not diatonic to our key that we're in, but it still works, and that's because of the strong voice leading. And so why is this chord with strong voice leading there when it's not in the key? Because it exists in another scale system, and that scale system only changes 1 note from the original scale system, so that's why it works. We're sharing 6 notes. That'll be a key thing coming up here. Now down here, so we're going from B minor to F major. When you see an orange on the chord, that means we're dealing with a chord that's out of key. So I should have put orange on these ones to make that a little bit more clear. So I think we'll do that. All right, so we're dealing with our chords that are out of key, F from B minor to F major. But now also there's another thing coming up here I want to show you. The 5-to-1 resolution. I don't think I made a diagram about this. So yeah, I didn't. I did kind of hurry this some of this lesson along, so I didn't make some of the diagrams I wanted to, but this is really easy. It doesn't need a diagram. Up here on the 9th fret, and the 2 notes on the 5th and 4th strings. 4th string, 5th string. Our chord is going from B for B minor to F sharp major. We can know that when we move up and down, that's always a 1 to a 5. Just the same as when we learn the C major scale. C is our 1 and G is right above it as our 5 chord. So that's a 5-1 resolution no matter where you're played on the fretboard or what notes you're playing. 5-1. So there's another reason that this works. Now, that comes up again in when we conceptualize these chords for how they work and how we're going to approach a solo over them. We're going to want to remember these relationships come up. And because remember, it's not just a chord progression and it's not just a guitar solo. It's the whole idea of the music behind and the ideas being espoused in the lyrics. Okay, remember this is Hotel California. What are our thoughts, our ideas about it? It's kind of I think this song could be described as there's a mystery here. What is the Hotel California? Where is it? What's going on there? It's somewhat mystically described in the song. There's weird things happening, weird feelings and emotions expressed. So why is Cool Whip in somebody's hair? Be pissed off at me, please. Because pretty soon we're going to do that Smokin' Don Henley solo in Dirty Laundry. Man, I love that song. Okay, so back to the bump and grind here. Okay, so we're going 5-1. Cool. And now we want to start thinking about, well, where we're going to go here. We're in here for 8 bars, so we instantly want to forget about this B minor and get to here. Was there one more thing I was going to say about it? No, just this 1 to 5 relationship. Now, this next relationship is not really anything. Here we are at the same chord progression again. I guess just a more simplified way to look at it on this screen. Now we're in the F sharp major. We've left and our shared note is there. And, the arrows indicate where the melody is moving. Did I put the arrows on this? Yeah, so you can see here the red. There, we're gonna trace that melody out as we go, even though I already talked about it. So we're here. Yeah, let's move on to our next sheet. Keep this lesson moving. Now, so we're still here in the same chord. Notice that we're talking about the same chord, but our idea of this previous chord is disappearing because we want to think about the next chord. When we think about the next chord, we conceptualize this chord. We can think about our shared note is staying right here. So that helps us anchor us for the next chord shape that we don't need to, get into a tizzy in our mind thinking about where's that next shape. It's just there. Your one finger is not even changing. So if you played it with this finger, then you're not even moving. But if you played it with this, there's a little bit of movement there. Okay, so there's that major chord shape. There's our shared tone. Our melody moved down. Great. Now we wanna get there. It's this was an F sharp for this chord here, and we want to get to this chord. It's going to be, there's our root that we remember from what we just talked about. So there's going to be an A major chord. We remember that's a major shape, and our root note is there, so this is A major we're going to. Now, also, so we started in the key of B minor, or basically the first chord suggested B minor. Remember, there's lyrics and a little melody going on down, 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 down. So that melody, or if there's lyrics over that chord, the suggestion is strongly A natural minor. So from A natural minor, we voice leaded well into a wrong chord, this F sharp major. And this chord, though, let's also consider that this F sharp major is also a setup for what is to come. So let's keep this in mind. Our F sharp is a setup for what is to come. So that's another reason why it works good. So here we are for 4 bars. Now we're going here, and let's get there. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Okay, so here we are. Our voice leading goes down. Our shared note changes to over here. That's going to be our next shared note, and we're thinking about this chord here, and we're going to be going from A to E next. Now, when we do this, remember this little sequence here. When we have this major chord, this major shape, going to this major shape, that's really like this. You've heard that a million times. 5 to 1, 1 to 5. So anyways, but we're moving in here from 1 to 5. So it's a 5, another 1-5 resolution. So like I was saying earlier, we had a 1-5 resolution, 5. This is the whole progression. Okay, I'll start again. 1 5 1 5 1 5 diatonic step out of key and then back. You can see how these chords, those notes just played that way. The bass idea goes together, flows together. It flows right back into itself, which is handy. And all those notes are diatonic to D. However, the chord voicings are where it takes itself out of key temporarily. That was pretty cool. All right, so we got a 5-1 resolution, very strong. Cool. Now we need to know where we're going next. Now it's very easy. We're going to use we're going to do the same thing, but we got to get there first. So here we are thinking about this chord. And so let's say the chord's changed. Now we're there. And now we've grayed that chord out where we are, and we're thinking about the next change, which is back to that same progression that we were from the second to third chords. Now this is not a 5-1 resolution. This would be like that's like a minor third apart, or you could consider that a flat 7 apart, but that doesn't really matter, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter coming up. It's not within the concept of the patterns in the song, or the structure of the song, or the arrangement of the song. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But hold on there to those thoughts. We're getting there. So here we are. We've gotten to the forgot to put the root there. Where are we at? We are at the that would be the G chord. So we went from E major out of chord. Oh, by the way, so when we went to that 5-1 resolution, that was our second out of key song. So so far we've gone. We are in the key. We're outside the key. Now we're back inside the key, but we're going outside again. Now we're back in the key center, and we're staying in the key. I am getting ahead of myself right now, and it's diatonically, except for this. That was pretty cool. All right. Pretty good for on the fly, like right off the top of my stupid head here. So we went from where were we at? We were at the E major to the G. So we need to go to that D. And she showed me the way. So there's, same thing now. I don't have to keep explaining this, so you can see kind of where we were, where the shared note was, where the melody line went. You can see the melody line has traveled all the way down here. There's a shared note between this chord and that chord. Even though this is our going to be our 1 to 5 here. Even when it's not a 1 to 5, there's still a shared note between this chord and that chord. So good voice leading is why we can get to these chords that are out of key. So we're to the D major, cool, the 1 of our key. Well, technically since we're in B minor, B minor would be the 6 is the 1, and all that changes. That's why I don't like. I personally, when I analyze music and I think about music, I don't do the conversion. Some people do. especially if you're versed in classical music. I think it becomes more important to do that. But I just stick with calling a six a six and staying with a six. The song starts in B minor, starts in a six, one, blah, blah, blah. Some people change it all over. Now, well, this is the one. Now that becomes the two. And that adds, to me, a level of complexity that it's just, I don't find it necessary. So I'm sure that there will come a point where it's helpful to do the conversion. But in most of my noodling and analyzing, not necessary. So keep it simple. Stupid. All right. So we're at the D. The D major. We have two more chords to get to, and once again, this G major was a 5-1, just the same as it was when it was F sharp. To E major, we went G or A. Sorry, when we went to A, we went from A to E. Oh yeah, right, 5-1. A to E, G to D. Somebody's gonna hurt someone. Oh, that's the Eagles too. Hey, what do you know? But I don't think those were the right chords, but probably, once again, similar ideas. Okay, that was neat. Going on. So now, something a little different happens here. Now our melody movement, our upper movement changes, but we're going back to a note where we just were. And that kind of signifies that this progression is wrapping up, if you will, I think. And we're going to a minor key. Now there's no S. There's no shared note between this one and that one. As a matter of fact, the only thing that follows is that melody line. However, it's the reason behind why this is okay. Why does it work? Is because this is diatonic, a diatonic movement from major 1 to a 2 minor. We're not trying to pull chords in from different areas outside of a diatonic scale here, so you can totally get away with a 1 to a 2. 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. All happy together chords. So we see that's cool. That's not necessary. And we have one more chord to get through before the progression will begin again. Finnegan begins again. That was stupid. Okay, so D major to E minor, a diatonic change there. Cool. And now at the end, we have this kind of kicker chord that really kind of gives it that, oh, that's Hotel California. I know that progression. That's that, distinctive chord out of this progression. Why is it distinctive? People just know that without even knowing music theory. They're like, yeah, that's that distinctive progression. Well, it's because this distinctive chord just came out of that progression's ass. No, just sorry. Sorry. I don't know why I do this stuff sometimes. But that progression, or that chord, just came out of another scale system. And, yeah. And it just sounds, it's got that weird sound. Now, listen to this. We just had this, what do we have? We had this, the G to D. There's kind of a resolution there that's 1 or 5 to 1, or was it? No, it's a 1 to 5. Yeah, 1. Well, yeah. Yeah. G is the 5 of D. Sometimes this stuff starts making my brain smoke. But anyways, 5 to 1. Okay. So that being said, my mind is thinking about what I got to do next. This lesson is dragging on. And so, listen to that. Sounds kind of like it's got resolved, but then listen to this. there's kind of a weird, to me, there's like the chords resolve. The C minor resolves into that F major somewhat well, but then there's also a tension to it, and that tension then resolves to the back to the beginning, and there's a reason for that, and we're about to get to it. So there's our progression. Now, another thing here, which is going to start tying into our final few ideas here. So our melody line started like this, and it went like this. And that's what Mark showed, which started making me very interested in what was going on here. And that is true. And exactly what's going on. We have the out of key, in key, out of key, in key, in key, well, whatever. There, there, and it kind of works. So there's a reason to that, but I want to show you this. When we play that F, the end chord is this F sharp major. Again, remember that second chord in was that F sharp major that I said is that kicker chord. So let's consider this top note again as our ending melody note. So let's do that melody line again. Oh, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Let's try that one more time. Oh, okay, so now we've got this progression going straight down until it wants to return. Now, if we consider those last two notes, where the hell have you heard that before? Look at that. That is a B. Well, pretty obviously, I mean, that's where we're going there. Hey, that comes from the what scale? If you're hearing lessons from just a couple weeks ago, harmonic minor, thanks for paying attention to the channel. Yeah. All right, so enough noodling around there. Harmonic minor is kind of the flavor right there. So is that chord within harmonic minor? And if it is, how could it work with this progression? Well, my friends, guess what? If you take a harmonic minor scale and you go E minor, F major, E minor, there is no diatonic scale where there's a major chord above a minor chord. Or in other words, an F major, or you could consider that, below, above, whatever we think on guitar strings versus sonically, it can get confusing, but that shape of chords does not exist diatonically, but it does exist in the harmonic minor scale. Okay, cool. So at least we know where one is coming from. But wait a minute now, how could that harmonic minor scale, why does one chord from harmonic minor work in this progression? Well, consider what harmonic minor scale we were in. B. What did we say about B harmonic minor earlier? That it only changes one note from natural minor. Are we in natural minor? Yeah, we're in natural minor. We've been talking about that. What natural minor scale are we in? We're in B natural minor. What harmonic minor scale is all that coming from? B harmonic minor. So we just borrowed a chord from a 6-note scale. So totally doable, and will have voice leading qualities from these scales should, because, or some, or a few, I haven't gone so deep into it that I know every single one of them, of course, but many, if not just that one, will have those voice leading qualities and are pullable from there. Those are great when you want to borrow chords and introduce different chords into your key. You want to think about there's always two scales that are 6 notes away from your original scale, and those are from the 4th and the 5th. So if you think 1, 4, 5, your 4 chord, to turn that into the new scale, and all the chords from that scale everything shares 6 notes. So there will be one note different, but that you're most likely to have chords that fit the new chords that fit together with the original key. That being said, you could probably even get away with 5 notes changes to down a whole step on each side of your key, which shares 5 notes. So, like for example, from D, C is a whole step below, E is a whole step above. C shares 5 notes, E shares 5 notes. Another group of diatonic chords, and because they share 5 notes, they will share a pentatonic scale. So there's ways to make a pentatonic melody line that connects all of the chords. So you actually have a bigger group of chords to work with than you think normally. Now, and especially to create different ideas and introduce different things, or to just figure out, hey, why the hell did these two chords work together? Where are they coming from? Especially under the same melody line I've created. Chances are you're operating on the same 5 notes that are shared by both scales. But let's get back to our lesson here with the shared 6 note scales, because we still have one other chord. We have this E major that we have to deal with, and this E major unfortunately does not come from harmonic minor, but it still comes from a, drum roll please, a 6 note shared scale. We'll get to that in a second. So we went from this one's in the key, this one chord is not. Now we're back into the key, but we're unfortunately not. Then we're back into the key, and we're still in the key, moving diatonically until back to the bump and grind. So you can see it leaves like a suspense. But there's that. We've explained that. Now we know where it comes from. Harmonic minor, very suspenseful scale, full of interesting ideas. So great to pull a chord from. We did it, and nobody knew what the hell we were doing. And most guitarists get all screwed up trying to figure this out. See, it's there's always a way to put an analysis on this, and yeah, I mean, now granted, another key that shares 6 notes with D, and here's another concept. We still got to deal with this E chord, and someone had mentioned that they thought it came from, I think at one time, I think I was thinking that I analyzed this years ago before I knew a lot less about what was going on. And I guess we figured it came from G or something, but that was totally incorrect, because G has an E minor. Now, what about this F sharp chord? Now, G shares 6 notes with D, so you'd think it'd be an easy one to have pulled these chords from. But once again, the F sharp in G is a diminished chord. Doesn't work. So we are definitely clearly having an F sharp major, but where it does come from is harmonic minor. And I think that because of the chord, because remember, there's always context. There's the chord preceding and the chord after. So if we consider that where we come from, the E minor, which is in a group, by the way, with that chord, because these chords, by the lyrics and by the lyrics, which are a melody line, and the guitar solo, these chords are grouped in 2 groups, and they group in those 1 to 5 groups. So for example, la 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 la, and here's the answer to that. Now I'm talking about something else, and here is the answer to that. I got another idea, and I'm talking about it. Now I'm going totally away and leaving you hanging. Back to normal talking. Here's your answer to that. Now our idea number 2, and the answer we have for that sounds kind of like this is call and response. It's the same old shit that you've always heard, except for this crazy chord. Right? Cool, man. Oh, we're getting it now. So there is like a little structure, but it's kind of just, look, masters at what they're doing make it to the radio, and masters what they're doing get on the radio because they're good at taking these concepts and keeping them on the down low, so you don't know, it's not in your face like, hey, this is what we did, this is the mechanics of this song. No, that stuff is like, no. You don't need to know exactly that this car has 450 horsepower because of the twin camshafts and the extra special nitrous kit under the hood and all this special stuff that makes it. You just got to know it's a cool car. And that's what it has flashy red paint and cool body lines. So that's kind of what is going on here. So let's explain finally where does that final mystery chord come from. We have an E major chord that's not in the key. We'll go back to, maybe we'll go back to here. We're on sheet 14. So here we are, the E major. We've, that D we talked about was, moved to diatonic. E major. Where does that come from? Now, you can just think about that as coming from I think about it as being pulled from the other 6-note scale that's shared with D, and that would be the A major scale. Now, A major, why I think A major, now you could just think it, well, that maybe they pulled it from E major, because E major is a 5-note shared scale with D. Maybe, however, why I don't think like that conceptually is because that puts our pentatonic scale or our diatonic scale with a pentatonic housing up here. Oh, that's E. Oh, I'm sorry, that's B. E. Okay. I'm sorry, E. Sorry, I screwed all that up. Anyways, E. I made it to the wrong root note for some reason. Probably because we had B in our ears. I had B in my ears. Now that puts this pentatonic shape up here, but we know, I heard there was a commenter on Mark's video about this. He says, hey, I just looped all those chords and soloed in the B minor pentatonic, and it worked. And that's true for nearly every chord except that F sharp. It's got some notes that won't necessarily sound that great. Primarily this note. If you avoid that note during this chord, you can make the B minor sound great, and that gives us a clue as to how they worked out this solo without, now we're using all these big theory terms and all these big concepts. Now, I should say right here, this is to get through the chord progression. But when we go to make the solo, what I learned was, by analyzing it, is that I didn't need to think about the harmonic minor scale during this part and then this scale during this part. No, I believe that they just simplified it and stripped it down to what was necessary and to play licks that simply cater to chord tones. Let's get right to that and show you that. So, to wrap it up, the A chord comes from E, or comes from the E chord comes from A. Primarily, now remember, we're going from we're going from an A to an E. Now, even though A was diatonic to the D. So it kind of like it jumps back in D, but it can work as the 1 of A, which makes this the E to 5. And what it does is, think about our scale from the A. Let me jump ahead here. We should be, where were we? We ended up on 14, so kind of, yeah, kind of here. You know what, though? Where are my other sheets? Oh, good. Okay, because I made a whole bunch more. Phew. Okay, so some stuff we don't need. Like, see, there's harmonic minor, and you can see how it changes from, there's the major, I could have done this better and put the, showed you how where the minor pentatonic was. It's right inside, you know, these blue notes are still outlining it. One note has changed, but it wasn't really necessary to do that. So, yeah, that's where we go diatonic. And you can see, like, we got an A major, but an E major chord, which would be root note here, G, A, oh, this is the G chord. That's why I did that. I was like, these are not all G's and those are not all A's. But I just was elucidating what chords are what. But anyways, you have that one note there that doesn't fit in the where we are. But here's actually, sorry, this is what I'm trying to show you. There's the diagram here I made specifically for this. That's what I was talking about, our 5 to 1 resolution, but I got it wrong. It's 1 to 5. Anyway, so let's skip that. Okay, right here's what we want to see. 7th fret shared pentatonics. The A major scale shares that pentatonic framework with only the only note that changes is the green note. And you can see how they cater that in the solo that easy. That's all they did. They didn't have to think about the A major scale, you know, a big, huge change in scale shapes, because it's all contained within the B minor framework. You just have to consider a one note change to get to the play the right note when the E chord comes up. Otherwise, during all the other chords besides the F sharp, that's also out of the key, they're soloing in this D major. Either the standard pentatonic is for the most of it, or they use these diatonic notes to D major. So yeah, D major. With a little wrong note jazzed in there. Okay, so let's move on here. And okay, let's get to the solo. Just going to do a little bit because we got to wrap this lesson up. Here, what I was showing people is that one thing was helpful to know, like the B minor chord and the D chord, when you get to both of those are both in the pentatonic scale. All you need is pentatonic for those, and why maybe where that will work. For the G, the A, and the E, I did another scale shape here because, you know, those spaces were already taken. Those chord shapes, the A chord shape, the G chord shape, and the E chord shape are all found in this diatonic system here, which is the same B minor. You know, take a look. Nothing changed. Whoops. Well, I should have kept the picture in the same spot, but anyways, nothing changed. It's the same framework, but when you add in these dark blue gut notes to make it to go from pentatonic to diatonic is what I'm talking about. Then you get in the remaining missing chords. You go from being able to include the B and the D, the B major, the D major, the B minor. Then you get the G major, the A major, and the E minor, all diatonic. The only thing we're left out is this E and F sharp. The F comes from the harmonic minor scale, and the E comes from A major. which just moves it to, where do we have that? This one here. We discussed that. All right, so let's kind of go over how that works over the chords. Now, I talked about a while ago, or a couple minutes ago, the groupings of the chords, and you'll hear that in the solo too. As a matter of fact, you can hear it in the melody lines. Gathered for the feast, started with their stealing knives, but they just can't kill the beast. They're still in the, because that harmonic minor only changes one note, you still have most of that B pentatonic framework. So that's where why the melody lines can work over a chord that was pulled out of harmonic minor. That adds a super level of interest to the song. And you only get that when you know either what's going on, or unless you have a good ear and you don't have to know what's going on, you can, or you might have learned that as a trick from another song. Maybe you don't know music theory and you just heard it in Hotel California and you borrowed it into your own song without even knowing what it was. If you were able to work with it without conceptualizing it, so some people are like that. That's great. So that being said, how about the solo? So those are our notes. We went. Oops, we slid into. That's a chord tone. Chord tone. Scale step note. Chord tone. Bend up to a chord tone. That's why it was important to know the other notes in our chord. We bent up from chord tone to chord tone. Then we went, which was scale tone, chord tone. Which is outside the chord. Okay, no, not a big stepping stone. Then we went, because we're still in our phrase, and we're ending it, and we're going, oh, remember, we're playing over the change. So we're playing over from this change to this change before we start a new idea for the next group. Like I said, the conceptualized, you'll see in the solo, if you listen to it, and you'll start realizing, oh my gosh, everything is catered to that, then they cater to this, then they cater to this, then they cater to this. So we got a chord tone, step, chord tone. We ended on the as the chord change. There's the what I think is the third of this chord, the E major. We hammer on to a chord tone, and then we go one step down from to the minor third and bend up. Common blues trick for that strange yet resolving sound. Resolve the line there. Now we're here. Since that's diatonic, like we showed earlier, that falls in the here we are here. Let's go back to this. Where were we? Okay, so where my fingers are on everything that says A in that bottom fretboard there. And our notes are chord tone. So What's this one? Is that in the chord? Nope, just outside the chord zone. So we've gone to here, and we're bending. Now we're taking our diatonic note of our scale, but we're bending it to cater to that chord tone. And right here is where all they needed to think about was this deal right here. They're taking this note where my plus sign is, this green note, from where we were in D major, and bending it a half step up to here. And I'm going to guess and say, yeah, once again, that's a half step bend to a third. Every time they end up at one of these outside chords, the line bends the third. Bending into that major third. From what should be, because this is what should be there, but going to what is there. So cool. Because now we're away from there. Scale tone, not scale tone, scale tone, bending up to I think it's a scale tone. Well, it doesn't sound like it. Oh, bending to an outside note, scale tone. I think that's in the scale, right? Yeah. Scale tone, scale tone, scale tone. We went, just bounced off the root there to the one. Since we're at the one chord, nice resolve there on the root, makes sense. Then we're playing the E. So we're once again, we're bending up into the top melody note. Scale tone, stepped tone. Then we're just pentatonic to B minor because that'll work over the outside pulled from harmonic minor chord, which will still have they skip that, but that's okay. Maybe they do that. So anyways, bending up into that E note, which we talked about. What we ended up there. That sounds like a chord tone. Yeah, we bent right up into that F minor's, the root, the F sharp. F sharp, G. All right, so then we are starting over again with our B minor. So since we just did that pentatonic lick, we might as well go. We bend up that a whole step now because we must have gone to there. So then that's what we did for that chord. So that didn't get too much thought. The outside, the F sharp, just simply was still doing that. Worked over the B and the F sharp again. For that. Then we bent to the chord tone. Now right there was cool. We ended up right there because we were going from here. Then we went, as we were changing, we went. Ended up on that chord tone. And why did that work? That's a neat line where they went, well, we started where in diatonic, we moved down into a non-diatonic note, but that didn't matter because we're moving in a stepwise flow as long as we resolved it to a chord tone that's diatonic where we just were, and we're moving in the direction of that melody line, heading right to a solid chord tone to end on. We end up where we were. So anyways, you can analyze the rest. That was just a flavor of kind of what's going on, and you can hear like how they phrased it once again, just like the lyrics, went, here's an idea. What's in the hotel room? There's mirrors, and there's something good to drink, and there's a passage to a place. Now we're relaxing because it's what someone said, and I'm programmed to receive something about the checkout system that's totally weird. Right? So there's idea, back to normal. And that's expressed in the solo. And back to the whoop. Make a call, get an answer. We'll make a call. the wrong number. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson today, our hotel wrong number. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Let me know if there's anything I can do better, change, leave comments, suggestions, subscriptions, subscribe, whatever, all that jazz. You know what to do. Like the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys very much for watching, and please check out Mark Zabel for the inspiration behind this lesson. Such a great teacher, and Mark, really appreciate you for the inspiration, and yeah, we'll go from there. Have a great day, everybody. We're clicking off now. See you later.